when the speaker applies the verb to emphasize the definition of the verb, makes the form of the verb constant with every subject. The uniformity of a general verb to describe a subject in a clause stated in the past tense or the future tense is also able to be described with the fact that the speaker at the present mentions the experience, condition, or action in the past or to be in the future, while the speaker emphasizes the definition of the general verb. There is the other example about the phenomenon that the uniformity of a general verb is revealed because the speaker emphasizes the definition of the verb. The definition of the general verbs suggest, insist, recommend, demand, and propose is able to be applied to emphasize the definition of the verb in the subordinate clause. In other words, the definition of the verb in the subordinate clause stays in the original form from being emphasized by the definition of the general verb suggest, insist, recommend, demand, or propose applied in the main clause. For example, there is a sentence. I recommend that you be a student. In this sentence, the subordinate clause you be a student indicate the same object of the transitive verb recommend in the main clause. The subordinate clause you be a student indicate the same subject who are the listeners described by the be verb be as the indicative pronoun that applied as the subordinating conjunction to link the subordinate clause you be a student to the main clause. In the subordinate clause you be a student, the form of the be verb be does not reveal information about the subject you. The definition of the transitive verb recommend in the main clause is strong, to emphasize the definition of the verb in the subordinate clause. The content of the recommendation is prioritized by the speaker, so the form of the be verb be in the subordinate clause does not reveal the information about the subject, because the definition of the be verb in the subordinate clause is emphasized by the definition of the general verb recommend in the main clause. So the general verb, which is not the be verb, has the same form with any subject. There are three clauses. The form of the transitive verb gave is constant in each clause. I gave you a hint. You gave him a hint. He gave you a hint. The male, indicated by the personal pronoun he, does not participate in the conversation with the speaker at the present. We can understand that the speaker does not reveal the information about the subject with the form of the general verb applied in a clause stated in the past tense because the information about the subject is valid in the present when the conversation between the speaker and the listeners happens. The be verb in the clause stated in the past tense conveys the primary definition that the subject existed in the past. The premise that the speaker indicates a subject with a noun or a pronoun is that the subject exists. This is obvious when we think of a virtual object. We can indicate this object because this object does not exist. The one, our Lord, hasn't created an object, so the object cannot be indicated by the name. So the premise of the indication may start from the fact that the object is named by Jesus Christ. And this also means that the fact that an object is indicated in a clause means that the object exists. So the speaker reveals not only that the subject existed in the past with a be verb, but also the number of the subject for listeners to assign the different importance on the clause. This explanation is based on the fact that the number of the subject or subjects reveals the magnitude of the definition that is delivered by the be verb for the listeners to receive the content of the clause. There are two clauses. He was, they were.